summer, you gotta eat.
The immigration debate is you can deploy facts in all kinds of different ways. Often.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to Oh My God on Cambridge Community Access Television. My name is Michael Mack, and each week at this time we get together to talk about God, talk about matters of faith and life, or anything that lifts us up and makes us say, oh my God. And I have the pleasure this week of being joined by my friend Maurice. We met at St. Paul's Catholic Church, and she's also a parishioner at St. Anthony's, St. Anthony Parish, downtown Boston. And we got together today to talk about something that is of great concern to a lot of young women. And Maurice has a story to tell about her experience with self-harm and with cutting, something that began at an early age for you, and that you've been working through over the years and have come to a much better place.
Yes.
But it seems like a good time for us to share Maurice's story for others out there who might be watching and who are experiencing something similar, because you have a message of hope.
Yes. With hope that there's hope, there's light in the darkness. You just, even if you can't see it, you can always reach out for it. So
I imagine that a lot of folks who start with this behavior start because of some great difficulty in their lives, some trauma, some difficult, painful upbringing. Was that the case with you?
yeah, when I was 9, my parents split, and it took about a 2.5 year battle of like finalizing the divorce and the custody battle. And so it was just really difficult. There was a lot of animosity. There was a lot of fighting
Between the two of them.
And so it's one of those things that witnessing that was really hard on me and my siblings.
And how many siblings?
So there's a total of 4 of us.
Yeah.
I am the second of 4.
Okay.
So yeah, I have an older sister, a younger brother, and a younger sister.
And you were living in Baton Rouge at the time?
I was living in Baton Rouge when I was 9, and they split. And then a few months after that they had split, I had moved into a new place. And, you know, with the move, and my mom having to work again, I had full access to her sewing stuff, and so what I would do is would get little pens that she would hold cloth together when she would sew.
The
pens.
Pins, yeah.
And I would just start poking, like my fingers, and my hand. Nothing that anybody could see, because I didn't want to cause any more grief, but I needed an outlet.
And was there anything that had inspired you to this, or was this something that just kind of came to you on your own?
It is, you know, I honestly don't know. I think it was a combination of both of them.
Yeah.
With, you know, watching secular TV is, I guess, appropriate word, and having that maybe seen for a brief moment, and then with kind of in a way stumbling upon it, because if you walk into my mom's bedroom, those pens would be on the floor by accident, and you would get them in your foot, and then you have to slightly pull them out of there because it didn't go too deep. That it gave me an outlet for how I was feeling, and at times I needed to put something to how I felt. So I would do that, and then as I got older into my teenage years, with, you know, dealing with my depression and my anxiety.
And I understand that there were those around you who spoke ill of you or belittled you?
Yeah. There was a lot of saying that I was hopeless, that I was unloved, that nobody loved me. They just put up with me. That I would never get married because I was too fat. And so with that just it weighed down on me. That my brother had a box cut. I can't remember if it was my brother or just how it ended up at our house, but there was a box cutter right when I was about 15, 16. I got it and I hit it, and
You hit it.
like hit it somewhere to where I couldn't find it. And I had started cutting myself on my arms and my stomach and legs, and which, if my family's watching, this makes total sense, because I would go and, because living in a small house, I would share a room with my two sisters. Well, I would always go into the bathroom and change clothes, and would never really do it in front of them. And if they happened to see a scar, I'd be like, oh, I fell on, this, or I got scraped at the door jamb, or something like that. I never really fully undressed in front of them.
Yeah. But it provided some kind of relief. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you're feeling very intensely inside all of these
Emotions.
all of these emotions. I mean, being a teenager in the first place, or a late adolescent in the first place, brings a lot of painful emotions. But with the added pressure of your parents' divorce and their fighting, and the kind of belittling talk that you were hearing, you were feeling a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And somehow this
Was able
helped to relieve the pain.
Yeah, it was, or just to feel numb, to not feel anything at all. Because when you feel so much, there's that sense of you want to put like a quote unquote name to it. And when you don't have a word for it, or you just don't want to feel anything anymore, which I guess that's why a lot of people go into drugs. For me, it was cutting. I needed an external release.
So
For
it
the
made
pent-up.
it made you feel kind of numb.
Yeah.
Was it because you could see the blood?
Yeah, I could see the harm that I was doing to myself.
Yeah.
And kind of put a name to it, as you would, to how I was feeling, and to for a brief moment not feel anything at all, to just be blank for a few seconds.
You had said a moment ago that you would go into the bathroom with your change of clothes so that your sisters wouldn't see what you were doing. But I see here that you have many scars.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that over time, did they start to see what was going on?
They did, and it was kind of over this about 10-year period. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s, with the face of almost trying to commit suicide. Like, that was the end result if someone had not intervened. And me and my little sister's mutual friend, I confided in her. And instead of her trying to push what she thought I should do to get better, she kind of accepted me and pulled me into her heart, as I would say, and goes, how can I help you get better?
Yeah.
How can I help you, live? How can I help you, have life again?
Would you say that she was the first person who really heard you?
No.
Or one of the first people that really heard you?
Yeah, I would say she's one of the first people that kind of heard me, because I've known her since I was 6 or 7. And it's another, it's one of how God orchestrates it throughout my life. Because where I moved to when I was 9 after my parents' divorce, I have Uncle Arvel and Aunt Penny Bridges that, loved me unconditionally and was able to offer a safe space despite whatever was going on, that helped shape me.
And I understand that they were not biologically related, but they took on the role as uncle and aunt, as loving and caring for you.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a person in high school, when I was in high school, named Courtney Clark. Big shout out to you if you're watching. She poured so much like love into me when I felt like a freak. That I felt like I was a horrible daughter, a horrible sister, just this horrible person. Poured love into me and basically saved my life when I was 19.
You were describing that to me. Is that something you could share now?
Yeah. So when it was around my 19th birthday, I was at my house by myself because my family had gone to a choir retreat for the youth choir that they were a part of, but I was not, at the church that I was attending at the time. And so I was at the house by myself, and I was severely depressed, like the lowest of the low. Like, you could say rock bottom, it was below rock bottom. And it was a Saturday. I felt completely forgotten, completely unloved. I go into the kitchen from where I was in the sunroom. I open the drawer to where the mom kept all of her cutlery. I pick out the largest knife that she has. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. I just knew that I was going to end my life. And at that time that I had pulled the knife out, she pulls up into the driveway. Courtney pulled into the driveway, which I could hear because it's a gravel driveway. And I throw the knife in the drawer and I close it and go, and we have lunch. We never really talked about it.
And what you had said was that everybody had forgotten your birthday.
Yeah.
Except for Courtney.
Except for Courtney.
And Courtney drove up to take you out for your birthday.
Yeah, she even called me on the day of my birthday. And yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, despite feeling completely forgotten, she hadn't forgotten me, you know, and we never really talked about it, but it's like, I know she knows that she saved my life that day, and I kind of respect her not talking about it, because it's kind of a traumatic thing to hear from somebody that you pulled up in the midst of their suicide attempt.
Yeah.
You know, and
do you think of that as grace? I mean, you've talked about how you would go to church when you were a young person, and of course we met at a church, and you attend church locally. Do you think of that kind of Courtney showing up that way, as an intercession, if you will?
Yeah, it's there's grace and mercy mixed in there, but mainly hope that I'm not quite as forgotten as I think I am. Not quite unseen, you know, that I think I am, which is very interesting because I always feel invisible, and I'm not quite so invisible. You know, there are people that see me, and you know, if you're watching, Courtney, I get it. I finally get now what you saw back in high school in me. I get it. So, sorry.
You know, we shout out, big shout out. We often can't see in ourselves what other people see.
Yeah.
And it is a blessing to have those people in our life who can see us, see the potential in us, and guide us to that potential.
Yeah.
So, and so that was, you were age 19.
Yeah.
And I understand that you came here to Boston 5 years ago. So was there some additional time down in Baton Rouge?
Yeah. So it was, you know, after that, it was just a real struggle to kind of like stay afloat, and you know, I got into another bout of really bad depression, and I had started cutting myself really severely, to where that some of these scars are rather deep, and Sue, who I had confided in, and somebody had already told Sue, and
Sue is
Sue is just Sue. There's no really
a relative,
a friend.
A
I've
friend,
known
okay.
Mia has known my family since I was really little.
Okay.
And when I confided her, she had already knew. But instead of like trying to push on me what she thought I should do, she was like, "How can I help you?" Because and this was November 4th, 2009, that I finally got help. I got to see a therapist and get better. And if she hadn't opened her heart to me to let me, in a way, collapse and just be, I would have probably killed myself by my birthday in January, my 24th birthday. So.
And you said about going into therapy, that's when you started to get better. I mean, clearly there were those people in your life that kept you going enough to get to the place of getting into therapy. Would you say that it was in therapy that you really started to grapple with somebody else in a very intentional way, with a professional in a very intentional way, with these issues?
Yeah, and it's like having a jumbled up puzzle piece set and having all these pieces and not quite knowing how to put it together.
Yeah.
And especially with emotions that you feel like you can't describe, working with these different therapists throughout the years, I've been able to kind of like put these pieces into a very beautiful picture of my life, and that I am an amazing daughter of Christ, and I have so much to offer, and I'm supposed to be here, and that's I want to shout out to everybody that their life matters,
And that's what
that's what my shirt says. It says,
Yes.
"We need you here." If you can't really see it,
we need you here.
we need you here. So
You're important.
you are important. And I got this at a nonprofit that I support that has in turn helped me. It's called To Write Love on Her Arms.
To write love on her arms.
Yeah. It's like
And it's an allusion to the cutting?
to the cutting that they offer support in all across the United States and the major cities, that people that suffer from depression, people that suffer from anxiety, addiction, self-harm, they offer ways to get help and support that you need to get better. So I wholeheartedly support them. There's no chapter here in the Boston area as of yet, but it's coming soon. Sorry.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So yeah.
And so it was in the therapeutic process that you started really grappling with these issues in a focused and concentrated way and in a comprehensive way, because you would see your therapist regularly.
Yeah.
And that was in your early 20s,
Yeah.
you say? And what was your age when you moved here to Boston?
I was 28.
28. And so would you say that from early 20s to 28, that was that, were you in some kind of therapeutic process that whole time?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily with as a therapist the entire time, but I would check in with Sue, on a regular basis for her to. She would check up on me to see how I was doing. Having my aunt and uncle who would just, didn't necessarily always know what was going on with me, but being able to go and spend time with them and just kind of be, helped me kind of, stay level. Helped me
and
keep
to
calm.
be seen for who you are and
Yeah.
loved for who you are.
Exactly. And so that has helped me kind of, in a way, stay clean. Because in a way, for me, cutting wasn't an addiction, to a much larger issue, but it was still an addiction.
It could provide some relief for a little while, and then the relief would pass.
Yeah, and I would need more. So it would help me kind of stay clean, stay calm, and not want, to hurt myself. And I took the tools that I learned in therapy and applied it to, my everyday life. and when I would get, depression or my anxiety would spike or, whatnot, I would use those things or, I would write in my journal. I would call somebody. I would talk to somebody.
You had a bunch of different tools.
Yeah, to be able to kind of, I had a more of a solid foundation and not quicksand to stand upon.
Right.
Whenever I got severely depressed or really anxious or a combination of the both two, or if an issue would arise with a family member or at work, I had something to kind of like, I know what to do in the middle of this, to be able to stay afloat and stand.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't necessarily say that before.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know if there are 12-step programs that deal with self-harm or cutting?
Not specifically but that's not to say that you can't, in a way, use the 12-step from AA and apply it to cutting.
Yeah.
And each case is different with cutting and with the individual as to why they cut themselves, to where it's a lot of people say, oh, it's just to get attention. Well, if it's to get attention, there's a much bigger issue behind it.
Yeah.
There's something going on that you're not aware of.
Yeah. But what puts the argument against that is what you described just a little while ago, is that you would hide this from your family members, that this was a very personal and a very isolated behavior.
Yeah.
So not at all about getting attention.
Yeah.
In your case.
Yeah. In my case, and there was that shame, like, in the South, it's very unspoken that, like, you don't really talk about mental illness. And you just go and be happy and have lots of kids if you're a female. And so it was that whole idea of, like, I didn't want to, I guess in my mind, like, shame my mother anymore with, because, like, when my dad left, he became gay, which, this is the mid-90s.
Your dad left and became gay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, shit hit
Started
the fan.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the mid-90s to where it's, right out of the AIDS epidemic of the 80s and all that.
Yeah.
And then having grown up in a very conservative church, that it's like I didn't want to add any more fuel to the fire,
Right.
so I kept it to myself.
Right.
It's like, and I've always done that with my emotions, is that, I don't want to burden anybody else because I'm already burdened because I'm breathing. That's how I thought growing up.
Yeah.
So I would keep it to myself, which is not healthy at all. Nor exploding in emotional rage is not healthy either. So I'd go from one extreme to the other, and with cutting, in the warped up mind that I had, that it would keep me somewhere in the middle and keep me level, which it never really did. But
so while you were living in Baton Rouge, you started to talk about this with very, very close friends, and with your therapist, obviously, and then you had a big breakout in a way by coming up here to Boston.
Yeah.
And could you say a little bit about where that process might have fit into the therapeutic process?
It's when you live in a place for so long and run in the same kind of like groups and circles, it's like I need something different. I needed change, and it's like felt like I really didn't fit in Louisiana, and all that, and so I knew I wanted to move in the upper West Coast or the upper East Coast. So back in September of 2013, I visited Boston, fell in love with the city, not necessarily a person, but the city, and I moved up 11 months later. So August 27th, 2014 was the day that I flew up here. Almost didn't make it because I was like, what am I doing?
It's a huge step.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I almost called my mother and was like, I can't do it. I'm coming back. But I was like, no, like I made this choice. I can't just back out. And so I moved up here, got to the connecting flight, flew back, it was August 27th, 2014. And never looked back.
Yeah.
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 So I've been here for 5
And
years.
have you visited Baton Rouge since then?
I have a few times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is your home now.
This is home. Baton Rouge is a vacation destination now, not really home.
Mm-hmm.
I do still have family that lives there, and I do love them. I love you, Mom. If you're watching, I love you. I just don't want to live there.
So we have just a couple of minutes left. Quite a journey that you've been on. It sounds like what has been most helpful to you has been connections with the people that you have made along the way. People who could see within you the beauty that you were not able at that time to see in yourself.
Yeah.
Would you like to share any last words with young people who have been experiencing the kinds of things that you have, and how to keep going?
Yeah, that life can always get better. And like I had said at the beginning, hope is a light in the darkness. Even though you can't see it, just reach out for it. It's there, and there are people that love you and want you here. I want you here. So keep living. So yeah.
We need you here.
We need you here. So.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We've got just about a minute left. And I want to thank you, Maurice, for coming in. And this is the first time Maurice has ever been in front of a television.
Yeah.
And it was a really gutsy move. You've been feeling this desire to begin to share your story in the hope of helping others who might have had the kinds of struggles that you have had.
Yeah.
And to give back. And so I just want to applaud you
Well,
for
thank
that.
you for having me.
For that. For your gutsiness, for joining us here on Cambridge Community Access Television each week at this time. Oh my God! And
my God!
We'll
Sorry.
talk about life, and we'll talk about faith, and we'll talk about what it is that keeps us going, what it is that keeps us saying, "Wow."
Wow.
All right.